tonight I'm making penne with beef and arugula. We're having dinner a little bit later because we had a very late lunch. After church, we went and got my wedding ring and the pearl ring that my parents gave me in high school inspected. We check them out every 6 months to keep out with the warranty. I love my engagement ring, but the stones on the sides tend to get a little bit loose. So the warranty is worth every penny because, like happens every now and then, they discovered one stone was loose, and so we sent it off to get fixed. But that actually took a little while, and we ran by the store on the way home to pick up just a few quick things. So it was like pretty late by the time we were eating lunch. But we've put James to bed. He enjoyed his dinner, and now we're going to have a romantic dinner for just the two of us since we have the kid in bed. So I'm already started to make the steak. I'll go ahead and kind of turn this around to show y'all what we're doing. Hey Stephanie, how are you? Okay. So I have the steak going away here. The recipe actually called for 2 8-ounce New York strip steaks, but I'm using sirloin tri-tip side steak instead. It's still about a pound total because that's what happened to be on sale at the grocery store the last time I was there, and that'll cook up just fine as well. So on the steaks, I have it cooking in a little bit of olive oil here over medium heat, but I put a rub on the steak made up of about a teaspoon of herbs de Provence and about half a teaspoon of minced garlic and about half a teaspoon of salt and pepper. And I just rub that over the steak to give it a little bit of a seasoning layer, and I'm cooking that for about 7 minutes on each side over medium, and I'll check it after that to make sure it's done. I'm going for medium rare. I can check it with my meat thermometer. Hey Kit, hey Val, how are you? So I also have a pot of salted boiling water going, and so I'm going to add our penne pasta. So the recipe calls for a pound of penne pasta, but I'm just going to use 1 box. That's pretty easy, and it's 13 ounces instead of 16, but close enough. And I'm actually using whole wheat pasta. That'll add some whole grains to the meal, a bit more fiber, a bit more protein, a bit of a nutty flavor. So that's a nice alternative to just plain pasta. So this will need to cook for about 7 minutes or so until it's al dente or soft but has a little bit of bite to it. Hey Wade, how are you? Alright, so I'm going to bring that back up to a boil now that I've added the pasta to it. So I'll flip the steak in just a minute, but I have some ingredients to do our dressing over here for the pasta. So we have, so first of all, I'm going to do 3/4 a cup of olive oil. Let's have some extra virgin olive oil here. Alright, so I do 3/4 a cup of olive oil. And then we have some balsamic vinegar. And I'm going to do 1/4 a cup of balsamic vinegar. There we go, that should do it. Put the lid back on. Okay, so added 3/4 a cup of olive oil, 1/4 a cup of balsamic vinegar, and I'm actually going to turn our steak real quick. And our pasta's coming back up to a boil, so that's just perfect. All right, so it's nice and crisp on the first side, looking really nice and browned. All right, okay. And I'm also going to add 1/4 a cup of chopped fresh parsley and 1/4 a cup of chopped fresh basil. So my parsley and basil plants are coming into good use. Aren't those pretty flowers? Dane picked those out for me while I was at work on Friday. Every time that he brings back flowers when he and James run errands while I'm working, I think I need to work more because I just get spoiled when I do. All right. And then I also have a 1/2 teaspoon of freshly ground Himalayan sea salt and half a teaspoon of sea salt, and then 1/2 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. I'm going to add that. And then I'm also going to add some Dijon mustard, and I need 2 tablespoons of that. So let's have some Dijon mustard here. All right. And I'm making a big batch, that way there'll be enough for some leftovers tomorrow, whether it's for lunch or dinner. And this is a completely dairy-free recipe, which is perfect for James. I'm always looking for recipes that are naturally dairy-free and we don't have to tinker too much too, because there's really a lot more options out there than you would think. Okay, so I'm going to grab a whisk to whisk all that together. Just whisk that up. That'll be a really yummy dressing. Almost kind of reminds me of the pasta dressing at Tazikis. If y'all live here in Birmingham, or if you live somewhere else where there's a Tazikis, even though it started in Birmingham, they have a Friday pasta. Really, it's a weekend pasta now that has penne pasta and grilled chicken and tomatoes and feta cheese. And there's a really yummy balsamic dressing to it. So this reminds, and it has some fresh basil as well. So this reminds me just a little bit of that. All right. I'm going to come over here and give our pasta a quick stir. Hi, Dr. Pessimini. Thanks for the idea to let James play with the dustbuster and clean up under the table. That's perfect. He really loves to play with the dustbuster when they use it at the nursery at church. We haven't let him play with it at home. I think that would be just his speed now that he's getting a little bit bigger. For some reason, he really loves the vacuum and the dustbuster. I'm going to grab the meat thermometer while I'm over here, just to kind of check in and see how we're doing. Kind of looking for about 130 on the meat. I like to double check with the meat thermometer instead of only eyeballing it. Looks like it's getting there. The smaller one might actually be done. Getting pretty close. All right, I'm going to get a plate to put the meat on so we can slice it, because we're going to slice it thin to put on our pasta. And we have a nice big bowl to toss it in too. Yeah, the steak is coming along very nicely. So basically, okay, so we've got our dressing set up. When we drain the pasta, we're actually going to reserve 1/4 cup of the cooking liquid, and we're going to mix that with the pasta and then mix in about half the dressing. And then after that, we're going to toss in the steak, sliced very thin, and 2 cups of arugula. The recipe calls for chopped arugula, but I have some baby arugula here, and it's pretty. The pieces are pretty small already, and once it hits the hot pasta and steak, it's going to wilt. So I don't really think I need to chop it any further. That's just one less thing, since I already chopped all of those herbs. Okay, so there's 1 cup. Pat that a little bit in there. Get a little bit more green in the salad. All right. I think that'll do it. Just a heaping bowlful. Oh yeah. So the little steak is definitely done. Take that off, and it looks like they're all pretty done as well. Yeah, I think they're all looking pretty good. So I'm just going to go ahead and take all the steaks off. And I ended up really cooking them for about 7 minutes on one side and 6 on the other. So that was pretty close to the time I mentioned earlier, 7 on each side. But the gas stove gets pretty hot. That's why I like to just check it, double check it with the meat thermometer. Okay, so that's all set. And the pasta's been going for a while. It's probably pretty close to al dente. But I like to just every now and then, once it's been cooking for a while, just kind of test one of the pastas. Try to blow on it first. Alright, that's almost done. I might let it cook for another minute or two. That's almost there. And I'm going to drain that, like I said, reserve half the cup of the pasta water and mix that in with the pasta and half the dressing and toss that together. And then add the thinly sliced steak and the arugula. So I'm going to thinly slice the steak, add the arugula, a couple cups of that, and then add the rest of the dressing as needed to taste. So I'm looking forward to tasting this, and I'll take a picture after everything's done. I'm going to let y'all go so I can slice up the steak and pour out the pasta in a minute. That's a two-handed job. So bon appetit. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday night.